Hello ladies and gents, Romie Reviews here. Please like, comment, subscribe. Now let's talk about the Pied Piper of R&B. Yes, R. Kelly. What is this? The Lifetime's docu-series of surviving R. Kelly. And it features his ex-wife, people that he's worked with, and also some of his accusers. Now, it started off a little bit differently than I thought it would. And I say that because it started off with R. Kelly. We kind of got this montage of all of the great things that he's done in his career. And that threw me off. I'm thinking, what is going on here? What is this? I said, what type of, and even for a little bit onward, that's how it was going. Like we saw Torre, he talked about at one point about how his interview, the infamous interview, when everything was going down, and he asked R. Kelly, so do you like teenage girls, or do you date teenage girls? And he was like, so define teenage, which rocked a lot of people, as it should have. Even Wendy Williams made an appearance in here, and I said, I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. But we start things off with his family. To be more specific, his younger brother, who, if you don't remember, Carrie was actually the one, if I'm not mistaken, his younger brother, who was Carrie, he was the one who told us that R. Kelly, was telling us the seedy stuff that R. Kelly did recently in a song. I don't think that was his older brother, because let's actually, I'm going to change up the order of this, because some things really threw me off. We get to his home life, when he was a child, and we do hear about, which he told us later on, like maybe 2 years ago, that he was molested as a child. His younger brother also was. He went to R. Kelly and Robert and told him, no, we're not humanizing R. Kelly, and told his older brother what happened, and R. Kelly said no, that didn't happen, because it happened to him as well. So I guess it was kind of the whole thing of keep your mouth shut, which is a terrible way to handle this, but I guess that's just how they did it. We have Bruce Kelly, his older brother, who I guess is still incarcerated, and I don't know for what, but what I do know is Bruce was saying some interesting things. Bruce was talking about how, I think he was the one who was talking about how his brother, he was very shy, very timid. And they're both talking about how he was illiterate. Of course, they were talking about how he was a musical genius. But when it came to the question about the ladies and the women, how both of them kind of handled it was weird. Bruce, the older brother, he was worse, but both of them, to me, made me feel like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Because you have them going and talking about how of course he had his way with women, and as music became his passion, it also helped boost his ego, because he saw how he was able to, command people with the music. And when he says people, he's also referring to the ladies. And my whole thing with this entire situation is that it's just like, well, how we, some women, they just go along just because. I said, wait a minute, what we're not going to do is act like these women are just saying this stuff to say it. Because that's what it would sound like to me, and it was irritating me. Apparently, we heard about, when R. Kelly went to the studio with this producer, and how he was doing a song, and it was almost like the song, what do you call it? It was almost like the song was already made and produced, but no, it was him just coming up with this. We get it. He's a musical genius. And I was just getting irritated, because I'm thinking, okay, I understand to do this correctly, I guess you need both sides or multiple sides. So I thought, fine, we're kind of creating an image as to why R. Kelly, part of the reason why the way he is how he is, not justifying it, because we're not doing that. We're not, but just kind of creating an image, since of course he was actually trying to sue to stop this from airing. But then we see his high school music teacher, who is actually really accomplished. She's worked with other stars as well, like Jennifer Hudson. I think she said she even worked with, she worked with a lot of people. And she even said that she had to curve his vernacular because he was already very sexual and sexualized at that point. And she was concerned because she was just telling him, you shouldn't even be thinking the way that you're thinking. So he dropped down senior year. Now let's pause. Why is it that he was able to make it to senior year if he's illiterate, if he can't read or write, or he can barely do it? That's the one thing I said, did he really just get pushed forward? Is that what we're doing? Was it because he had his way with people that they just pushed him forward? Were the other students doing his work? It's the little details like that that makes me think. No, Bixby, stop it. Anyway, now we got to one of his background dancers. Background singers. And she was just saying how creative he was. But again, creating this whole idea that he was very controlling. That was the central theme, that he was very controlling. And we know that part of his control is he uses sex in order to do that, which is scary and very manipulative and terrifying. But it's not just sex alone. We start to see... They do talk about how his music did vary. It went from... he was very sexual in his music. Even if it was a ballad, it would start off as a nice little thing, and then it would go really raunchy, and then he would reel it back in for a second, and then go full throttle. And we're just all like... But Javante took the cake, because now we're on to Aaliyah. And the Aaliyah situation... He met Aaliyah when she was, 12 years old or something like that? It was young. It was young. And apparently Javante was saying how Aaliyah was Aaliyah's backup singer, or she worked with Aaliyah closely, and how Aaliyah, she was definitely like a little princess, a little angel, in a positive way. And that she wasn't rough around the edges. She wasn't street. So... R. Kelly and his team, they really R. Kelly, because, controlling. He thought about, let's do this image to contrast her voice, and to really sell it to a different demographic than what the industry would push her towards. And the whole thing with Aaliyah, again, is also nasty. It's nasty because we had Javante go and say, now I understand why the family put out that statement, because the whole time I didn't want to hear anything about Aaliyah. I know we had to, but I did not want to hear it, because I'm like, oh, this is gross. Oh, this is nasty. This is nasty because she's not here to go and say her own version of the piece, or just to go and tell her own story. Everyone else is telling her own story, but she was young, and whether she thought that it was okay or not, who knows? That's the scary part. Who really knows? Probably Timbaland and Missy Elliott. But that's a story for another day that we'll definitely never hear. We even have his security guard, or I think that's who it was, who was saying that he was close to R. Kelly and was also close to Aaliyah, and she was just a sweet little thing. And he did even ask her, because a lot of people were looking like, this is odd. Now, one thing I will say is the industry does consistently have these girls, we'll go and put these girls out there, these young girls or these young guys out there, whether they're tweens or in their teens, and sing sexual stuff, but they'll mask it, and you'll say, oh, let's go these. But when you really think about it, it's like, wait a minute, what are you saying, and what's your age? And grown people are like sexualizing you now. That all that's wrong. It's always been wrong. It will continue to be wrong. It's like, why are you shaking your non-existent hips? So what? No. And then people will go and tell you, oh, you're the one with the dirty mind. No, it's you shouldn't be saying that or doing that, period. Anyway, so his security guy, like I said, even wondered, hey, are you and Aaliyah? And Robert immediately said no. Now we do know that they went on, it was a situation where they started to dress alike. They were constantly asked, are they dating? And I definitely think that it was a combination of they were playing up the rumors to bring more buzz and attention to both of them, because now we see that that's very common practice. It always has been, but it's nasty because of the age difference. Excuse me. Ugh. And it was just, that whole portion of it was gross. It was gross because now we have Javante going and telling us on the tour bus they were playing pranks on each other, just on the tour bus, period. Having fun, playing pranks on each other. And so someone opened the door to the back, which is where the bedroom is, and she said R. Kelly was having sex with Aaliyah. And I said, we are stopping right now. Period. I was over it. I was over it before, but I was truly over it then. Period. How are telling that did it for me, because then they talk about how Aaliyah, it was rumored that, I think they were saying, Robert said that he thought Aaliyah was pregnant, so then they rushed and got married. His security guy or tour manager, whatever it was, decided to go and forge this. I said, is it the statute of limitation? Is that why he confessed to doing that? Because on the marriage license it said that Aaliyah was 18. Aaliyah was 15. Robert was 27. Nasty. Gross. I am just going along with all of that. And then even the security guy told us that he knew that Aaliyah didn't look happy or comfortable with the situation, or being there without her parents. And after all of that, there was the annulment, and then their communication with each other stopped. But I'm glad that in part one they did bring up the fact that, especially in pop culture, men have been able to go and date, teenagers and basically get away with it. And even though people looked at it and thought, they still support them. And that was also part of the thing. It's like, Aaliyah was the first thing, but I guess because there wasn't just concrete, here's what's going on. If TMZ and if Wendy Williams was the Wendy Williams of today, I'm sure we would have had all the information thrown in there, and R. Kelly would not have been R. Kelly that we know today. But that is just part one. So in part two, we get this story of this young dancer, or at the beginning of part two, we get the story of this woman. I call her dancer, I apologize. She's a singer. And she was 17, I believe. All she wanted to do was sing, and she was so happy that R. Kelly was showing her attention, and showing attention as far as, hey, I like your voice. Why don't you come to the studio? Oh, great. Why don't you come and tour with me? Why don't you do this? And she thought her dreams were coming true. And her friend, both of them were naive. But her friend was saying, you better go. And you better go quickly. You better do this. You better do that. Now she fully understands that. Why did we do that? Why? It made no sense. And frankly, it was dangerous. And so then she talks about, we hear her story later. We hear how it quickly became a sexual relationship. Her ability to sing and all of that didn't matter, because he just was mainly using her for sex. And that's one of the central themes that we hear from all these other women. Their age and, sex. And aside from all of that, we hear that he basically had a bedroom everywhere. He had a bedroom in all of his studios, or he had a bedroom in whatever venue. There was always an area for him to sleep with someone. Sleep, sex. That was what he wanted. what was the girl's name? Lisa? And Bruce Kelly, his older brother, saying that, oh, well, you know, everyone has a preference. I said, oh, you are not about to. And he did. He was like, you know, he likes older women. It's his preference. If someone likes younger, that's their preference. And it's nasty. That's where the microphone is. And it's nasty. How about that? How about that? And it's nasty. And it's nasty. Nasty. I couldn't believe. I was. Yeah, we'll get back to Liz in a second, because her testimony is important for what happened later. Now, R. Kelly's wife. For some reason, I don't remember her being a dancer or saying she was a dancer, but apparently she was very good and very successful. And that's what intrigued him to her in the first place. Or, well, no, it wasn't just that. But she talks about how she was really going places, and she knew she was one of the best. And at the time, remember, R. Kelly was still on the come up when he met a lot of these people. So it's kind of that weird dynamic of, I don't know if he was more established, if all of this would have happened, or if it would have been worse, or if it would have been the same. I don't know. But Andrea tells us that, you know, things were great. He was wonderful. He was the best. And just like an abusive relationship, or a relationship that turns abusive, it changed. It goes from, oh, you know, you're great, you're beautiful, to you're doing everything wrong. She talks about how she couldn't do anything right to save her life. She couldn't make his pancakes the way that he wanted it to be made. And of course, she wasn't allowed to talk back or speak up. And a central rule with a lot of these women were, you can't talk to this person, you can't talk to that person, especially if that person's a man. Oh no, you're definitely not talking to some other man. And the other people around, you're not going to go and talk to these ladies. And I'm thinking, are we serious right now? Are we serious right now? Are we serious right now? They do talk again a little bit more about his career and how he idolized Michael Jordan, and how he came up with I Believe I Can Fly. He just freestyled it, and we get it. Musical genius. We get it. We get it. Let's get back to Liz. Liz talks about how, like I said, it was a sexual relationship, how she was very uncomfortable, how she eventually turned to her having threesomes, how one of the threesomes became a situation where she thought this girl was 16, even though that wasn't great. She was just like, okay, she was 17 originally, whatever. She later found out that girl was actually just turning 16, and that girl was originally 14. And what it sounds like, I'm going to make a connection really soon. It's just this. That's why I couldn't put out the video last night. I watched part 1, and my energy was drained. My energy was so drained by this. When I tell you I was over it, I was over it. Period. I did not want. I was like, oh, this man's nasty. Oh, this is nasty. Oh, this situation is nasty. 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 I don't know how many more times I can say that. So now let's get to Sparkle. Sparkle, his protege. Sparkle, her story, it wasn't her directly that something happened to, but she does talk about other people's accounts. So she did talk about Andrea, how, you know, she was hanging out with R. Kelly, because for people who don't know, Sparkle is a singer, and she, well, like I said, was R. Kelly's protege, and she witnessed some things. She witnessed some things, and some of those things were, one, Andrea Kelly was knocking on the door, or was knocking in general, and R. Kelly eventually, you know, Sparkle's like, what's going on? What's that sound? It's like, hey, what's up? And Andrea said, can I come downstairs and get something See, I said, can you come? That was the first thing for Sparkle. Sparkle said, what type of is going on? And we get to Andrea, back to her for a second, because she talks about how, even for her wedding, she did not know that she was going to get married. He basically set everything up and was like, so this is what's going on. Here's what's happening. Her family wasn't there. Again, this is part of control. When you're trying to control someone, you set the stage, you set the timing, you set the pace. It's all you. And that's what he was doing. And Sparkle just had this look of, Sparkle's over it. Because apparently Sparkle, like I said, she was in the studio, she was doing her thing. Her lead song was originally supposed to just be hers. It was supposed to be her introduction to the world. And R. Kelly decided, let's make it a duet. Let's make it a duet. Let's go. And here's the concept. Here's everything. Essentially, lights, camera, action, and you go. And that's how it was working with him. Period. Period. Wow. Bruce, R. Kelly's older brother, did mention that he thought that things did take a turn with Andrea. That how he noticed she didn't talk too much after they got married. It was almost just kind of like she was just there. And that's terrible. That's terrible. That's horrible. That's horrifying. The thing about Sparkle is she's very strong-willed. So even though she realized originally, because when she would go to different places, she would go and say hi to everyone. No one would say anything. And then she eventually told her realized that, oh, he's the one telling them not to have any contact with me. So she made her mission to go and say, hey, you're not about to go and just control this entire situation. Now, unfortunately, like I said, for her, she was very strong-willed. She was okay. But things took a turn, and she can tell she's never going to forgive herself for what happened. Apparently, she had this young, I believe 13, 14-year-old cousin who was a rapper. And she was really good. And so Sparkle thought, let me bring her around because she wants to come. She wants to come and meet him, have her spit, see if maybe he wants to sign her. You don't know. And Sparkle already felt that it was a little weird that, and everyone thought that, it was a little weird that R. Kelly always was around like high school girls and was always down at the high school. And I'm thinking, But anyway, she told us that her cousin met, cool, fine, great. Now there was a situation where her cousin was already at this location and Sparkle is pissed because apparently R. Kelly went, or his team, they went above Sparkle, contacted Sparkle's cousin directly to have her come, and Sparkle was pissed. Sparkle was pissed because she's like, why are you in the studio and I'm not here? We don't come from a family where that's okay. You don't go and just be around strange men or just men, period, by yourself. She said she couldn't even go to hang out anywhere if there was just if there were going to be any men. And so she was over it. But then it sounds like that took another turn because her cousin probably what it sounds like to me is, and if I'm jumping ahead, I'll make the correction in my next review, but it sounds like her cousin was the girl that Liz was doing the threesomes with R. Kelly, because Liz did say that there was a 14-year-old girl. Now next two episodes they're going to talk about the tapes of him urinating on, I mean, I'm not saying allegedly. I am not saying allegedly. There was another girl named Lisa, and I think I was merging Liz and Lisa's stories together, or at least partially. Lisa is the one who, she thought that she was R. Kelly's girlfriend. She met him when she was 17. She thought, oh, a lot of these 17 15, 14, 16. Anyway. She met him when she was 17. She was just there, like in the video, and he grew to liking her. And he was the one that was flying her around. And she was the one who she didn't enjoy the sexual acts either, but they did. She did them. She did them because she thought she was in a relationship with him. She was kind of under his psychological spell. She was young, very impressionable, and it's just scary, man. We need to really watch out for people, watch out for women, watch out for young girls, watch out for young boys, because they're also targets too. We kind of forget that, because we see from this documentary, in that household, family members were touching them young boys. So definitely have to watch out for that, as I said, as well. And the end of this was essentially him becoming a pop star, transcending R&B, working with Michael Jackson, singing, and people think that it's Michael Jackson, but no, it's R. Kelly. He was becoming bigger than life, and he was still doing all of this mess. Oh gosh, I am drained. I am drained. So I will be back for part 2. Realistically, look for that tomorrow, because today's Friday. So yeah, look for that tomorrow, and part 3 actually comes on Saturday, so look for that on Sunday. Thank you.